everybody, Garcia here, and today I'm going to be doing my top 5 games from Button Shy. Button Shy is a publisher that puts out games in little wallets. They're normally composed of 18 cards, a little rule book, and something that fits right in your pocket. This one here is actually an honorable mention of mine, but I figured I would pull it out to show you. So, For Sky, excellent little game. Again, gets my honorable mention spot here. But I can use it to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So they just open up like this. You've got a deck of cards split across the two sides there and a little rule book. The cards are always linen finish, wonderful. They usually have fantastic illustrations. And they are, of course, incredibly portable. I'll be featuring games here that are solo-only games. I'll be featuring some that are multiplayer or for 2. So there will be all kinds of games for all kinds of players. But the one thing they share is they're inexpensive, they're portable, and they're very well produced. They have high production quality. So obviously this list will only discuss games I've personally played, and of course the ones I enjoy. There might be some that I haven't yet played that could easily shoot to the top of this list, and I'm simply not aware of those. But I've played enough of them now where I felt comfortable putting together a list of 5 games that I think are superb, fun, engaging little designs that could fit, like I said, just into anybody's collection. Let's go ahead and jump into it with number 5. The number 5 spot goes to ROVE. ROVE here, which stands for Results-Oriented Versatile Explorer, ROVE, is a solo-only game, and it's one of the most puzzly games that I feel Button Shy has put out. In this one, you put out a grid of parts of this little robot that you are going to be manipulating on the table. They each have a way in which they move. Some can push other pieces out of the way. Some need to leap other pieces in this geometric pattern. And you are trying to match a specific objective, a specific shape in this pattern by playing cards from your hand. You need to complete a certain number of those to win. And it's very thinky. It's got some really neat ideas, some very cool one-time special abilities that you have to be so careful about when you utilize, because once they're used up, they're done. And if I want to sit down to a solo game, I have a little bit of a table space, and I want something that's going to challenge me, something that's going to be kind of tough, forces some creativity, forces some spatial, awareness and utilization, then ROVE, I think, is a wonderful one for that. It's also, even though it is so thinky, very charming. It's, the illustrations in here, the look of the whole thing is whimsical, it's cute. They sort of feature this little robot character that's, Wall-E-esque, and I find it to be a good mix of those two things, whimsical and charming, but also thinky and very engaging. So there you go, my number 5 spot, the solo-only ROVE. Number 4 for me goes to one of their biggest hits, and that is Tussie Mussie. Tussie Mussie here is from a very famous designer at this point, Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer of Wingspan. This came out just a little before Wingspan, but it is a very clever game in which you are trying to make a bouquet of flowers, and you do that by drafting these cards. The way in which you draft them is offering an opponent at the table 2 cards that you've drawn from the deck. You'll offer them one face up, one face down. Your opponent picks one, you get the other one. And you are trying to, across 4 cards you'll end up with, have the most victory points. The cards have inherent victory points, but also conditions that will give you bonuses. Like I said, it's very, very clean, a very simple design, some nice interaction between the different cards. And this one you can play with up to 4, have a great time that way. You can play 2, you can play 3. I think it scales in a wonderful way. And it's just a lovely looking game. It's got Beth Sobel artwork, so all the flowers and all of the different designs are stunning. Card quality, of course, superb, like I said. And it's one that I think with the theme is also going to appeal to a lot of people. I know I love it. Everything just looks just relaxing. It's a game that perhaps doesn't feel as relaxing to play. You're doing a little push your luck. You might take a face down card thinking they're trying to keep something for themselves that's going to be really good for me, and walk into a bit of a trap, something that absolutely does not help you. But looking at the artwork, looking at the whole thing, and just the theme of floral arrangements is wonderful. It's very nice Sunday morning kind of card game for me. So that is my number 4 pick, Tussie Mussie. For number 3, I'm going back to a solo-only game and one of the more recent releases from Bud & Shy. This is Unsurmountable, which is still a title that bothers me a little bit. I'm fairly certain my mind and my mouth want to say insurmountable, but it's called Unsurmountable. In this one, you're building a mountain, and you are trying to draft the cards, put them into a pyramid so that you can come in at the bottom, follow a path on the mountain, and get to the peak. That's the idea here. The cards can either be used for their pattern and their path and put into the mountain, or you can trigger one of the abilities that's printed right on the center of each of those cards and then discard that card. Those cards will never come back into the game, so you've got some serious time pressure built right into the design. But I love the way that the game comes together. I love the way it looks on the table, and I really like that there's some neat tuning of difficulty built right into this one. You can play where you just are trying to build your mountain, come in at the bottom, get to the peak, that's it, and there's some symbols on the cards you basically don't have to worry about. Or you can go to a next level in which you do have to worry about those things, and you go to a next level after that in which you have to be really careful where they end up, and so on. There's a few sort of different levels. And I find that to be very, very clever. There's a sort of in the middle one that I like to sit at and enjoy the game just fine at that difficulty. But if you want to keep, tuning it up, that's built right into this. So I really like this one. I find it engaging, and I do find that while you do need some table space, kind of like you did in ROVE, actually, this might need a little more table space than ROVE. The look of it on the table, once you're done looking down and seeing this beautiful peak that you have built, is very enjoyable. It's a lovely looking game. So Unsurmountable, some clever ideas, very puzzly, really fun, and it's so easy and pleasurable to just shuffle up and do it again once you've built up your mountain, or if you got stuck and couldn't quite make it. So my number 3, Unsurmountable. The number 2 spot goes to Skulls of Sedlec. This one is a very clever and interesting, I'm going to call it a tile laying game. It's obviously cards, but the way in which you are treating these cards is very much concerned about adjacency and treating the cards as though they were tiles. It's also a bit of a drafting game. You're also kind of building a pyramid, but of course the theme here is going to be much more macabre because you are stacking skulls, and those skulls, the people that they once were, they care about where they end up in this stack. There's a few different categories of characters, and they very much want to end up in specific locations. You've got peasants, they're simply worth a victory point, they don't care where they are, they're happy to just be on the pile. And then you've got priests, and they care about where they end up, they want to be, in different levels of society, which is what this pyramid you're building represents. You've got thieves, and they want to be next to the priests for afterlife redemption, and so on. There's a few different kinds of characters like that. The lovers, they want to end up next to each other, that sort of thing. Very clever, very fun, trying to figure out when you draft. You only have a hand size of 2, so on your turn you either take something or you play to your own display. And once you've hit those 2 cards in your hand, you've got to commit to playing something, even if right now is not the optimal time. I love the way it comes together. The simplicity of the graphic design here is excellent. The rulebook is excellent. The whole thing is just incredibly well condensed to give you a game that feels bigger than what this package would suggest. And I very much enjoy this one. It's also a great 3-player game. So you can play 2 or you can play 3. And 2 is excellent. 3 makes each player's pyramid a little bit smaller and works wonderfully. So Skulls of Sedlec, my number 2 pick. And finally, my number 1 pick is one that I realize brings together a lot of the ideas in some of these other games, but I like the mix that it puts forth on the table. This is Death Valley. Death Valley has some of the best artwork and some of the most wonderful graphic design, and I would say this entire line and in the publisher's catalog. It's gorgeous looking, very well done. It's also got some push your luck as you are deciding when you want to flip over a card and add to this travel log that you are putting together. If you get too many of the same symbols, you're going to bust and you have to lose some of these cards. So that works out really well, and I enjoy that. It's got the idea that we see in many of these games where they have an inherent value and then they score off of other things. And that's certainly part of the game. You are, in fact, building two lines, one at the top where you're going to be scoring one thing and one at the bottom that you're sort of banking cards to, and they'll score differently. And that comes across in a very interesting, clever way. This one's slightly more obtuse to learn and play than some of these other games I've mentioned. But once you put in a little bit of that time, which again is minimal really, I'm merely saying that compared to these other games, it's going to reward you for that investment. It's going to open up as you play it a few times and realize what's a good move and does a good move make sense and when should you do something else? When is that risk worth it? You can see what's out and decide. I can go ahead and push my luck right now. It's a small gamble. Whereas when you should, bank something and put it in that secondary line, there's all these interesting ideas. The game also has a solo mode. I certainly don't like the solo mode as much as I like the game multiplayer, but it's there. It works well. I just prefer some of the pure solo games that they have in this line a little bit more. This is normally 2 players, but you've got that solo mode in there as well. Really clever, interesting stuff. I love the back and forth. I love the push your luck in this. And it's been my favorite from all the ones I've played. So that is Death Valley. And that's going to do it, folks, for my top 5 games from Button Shy. Let me know in the comments below, what am I missing here? What should have made my top 5? And if you played these, what were your thoughts on them? Like I said, I gave an honorable nod to Forest Sky. I know that Sprolopolis is another one that gets a lot of love. I also like that. And I like Forest Sky just a little bit better. But let me know, if there's something else that you think, oh, you would love this one, or oh, I can't believe this didn't make your top 5. Let me know down there, and I'll love to hear what you've got to say. And that's going to do it. Thanks very much for watching. My name is Z Garcia. I'm going to see you on the next one.